We'd like to start today's video with a big thank you to our very generous patrons. We would especially like to thank one of our most recent patrons, Meerkat Nia. Thank you so much for your very generous support. I was very pleased to see you join our Discord, and if you have any suggestions for future content, please do let us know and we will work hard to make that happen. Again, thank you so much for your support. This is the Alliance Crusader, sharing a striking similarity in appearance to both the Chieftain and the Challenger. The ship's stats make it hard to justify using over either of its two popular siblings. It is considerably slower and offers less hardpoints, so why does this third Alliance ship exist? Well, the only reason one could consider buying a Crusader over the other Alliance ships is its ability to fit a fighter hangar. The ship-launched fighters are extremely fragile though, but the XG9 Lance essentially provides another Gauss cannon to the ship's armaments. Will this prove to be a gain that justifies the ship's poor overall performance? The cockpit of the Crusader is functionally identical to the Chieftain or Challenger, with the same degree of combat visibility. The key difference on offer here is the provision of 2 additional crew seats instead of just 1. When flying solo, this essentially makes no difference, though a multi-crew would allow for another fighter to be launched. The ship's hardpoint provision is weaker than either of its siblings, with a large, a medium and 3 small on top of the hull, and another medium under the nose. This build has 2 medium and 2 small Gauss cannons, and in theory at least the fighter can provide an additional Gauss cannon, though if you plan to run a fighter, flak is an absolute necessity. Using a fighter is a double-edged sword. A Crusader pilot will have to make adjustments to their flight techniques in order to make use of it. The Crusader lacks the speed to quickly get out of trouble if something goes wrong. Still, the Crusader does share some advantageous characteristics with the Chieftain, such as its effortless orbit profile. The ship is extremely comfortable to handle during attacking runs, provided you don't need to make a quick getaway. The ship also handles the heat of AX weapons very well, and can be equipped with a relatively high hull strength. This does partially offset the poor mobility, and it could very well be possible that the fighter provides enough additional utility in trade for the better stats of its siblings. Let's find out as we take the Alliance Crusader out against the Thargoids. First, we face off against the Cyclops. The only reason one could consider buying a Crusader over the other Alliance ships is its ability to fit a fighter hangar, and because of this, for this review we will be making use of an NPC-controlled XRG9 Lance. The ship-launched fighters seem to be a priority target for the swarm every time, and so launching a fighter would have to wait until the swarm was destroyed. During attacking runs, the Crusader handles extremely well, very reminiscent of the Chieftain, though the subtle differences did initially give me trouble with my ranging. The ship-launched fighters are extremely fragile though, being destroyed immediately should the swarm attack them, and usually immediately destroyed following the destruction of a heart. The Crusader's slow speed meant that often the swarm would be engaged at close range in what I like to call melee. Against the Cyclops, there was not enough time between hearts for the fighter assembly process to finish. This did mean engaging several hearts with no fighter support. Actual support from the fighter during attacking runs was somewhat inconsistent. Occasionally there would be hearts where the fighter would engage, while many of the hearts it would simply watch. Overall, the Crusader handles the Cyclops well, again very reminiscent of the Chieftain. The slower speed didn't really come into play against the Cyclops. This would change against the Basilisk, however, as the Basilisk's top speed takes much more advantage of a slow speed ship's weakness. Attempting to give orders to the ship-launched fighter gave inconsistent results, especially with the maintain formation order. NPC pilots seem to struggle with cooperating with ships in flight assist off, with most orders resulting in the fighter simply maintaining its current position. This meant that keeping the fighter alive between hearts was often impossible, save for the first heart, where the fighter's position was often saved by the Thargoid chasing my ship with lightning. Again, engaging the swarm up close is just often more practical than using flybys to constantly gain range from the Basilisk. Still, despite its inconsistencies, there were times where it all came together and synergy between the fighter and my ship was possible. The fighter in effect cannot survive the swarm phase of a battle. What is really needed is a new AI order that tells the fighter to stay at the maximum possible range from your ship. This will allow you to engage the swarm with the fighter at a safe distance before calling it back again to assist you on the attacking runs. Overall, the Basilisk was trickier than the Cyclops, yes, but still well within the capabilities of the Alliance Crusader. The Medusa was up next, and with both longer attacking runs and longer shield time to contend with, How would the ship perform? The fighter would only fire one time during the Medusa's first heart. And while the Medusa was chasing me with its lightning attack, the fighter ended up so far away that it risked falling outside the 30-kilometer telepresence range.
Fighter's almost out of range. Should turn that thing around.
But both with and without fighter support, the Crusader was making easy work of the Medusa heart attacking runs. The lone small thermal vent I have is not sufficient to provide fast cooling in an emergency. So the Medusa had fallen, again, in relative comfort. Emboldened by this victory, I decided to head out straight away and take on a Hydra. Not wanting to use valuable materials in this fight, I decided to attempt it with basic ammo only. the first heart had fallen under basic ammo use much faster and easier than I expected it to. But during the second swarm, the complex formation caused a very slow elimination of their numbers. This resulted in the swarm being refilled. Not wanting to waste any more time, I decided to forego the fighter for the next few hearts and just engage using Flackless techniques. The Crusader handles the boost orbits required for Flackless engagement very well. Again, it's not that much different from the Chieftain in this regard, just a little bit slower in a straight line. And on the later hearts, I did finally see more favourable swarm formations, and so did engage them, allowing me to make use of the fighter once again. The Hydra had fallen. Crusader had pulled off a basic ammo Hydra on my first attempt. This was very encouraging, and does go to show that the Crusader is a capable vessel. The key problem that it faces, though, is that everything it does can be done better by both the Challenger and Chieftain. The only real advantage the Crusader has is the ship-launched fighter. And if I'm honest, the ship-launched fighter didn't provide all that much utility, even when it was working as intended. I don't feel the damage output of the ship-launched fighter is enough to make it worth the sacrifice of extra performance. And as we saw with the Hydra fight, the hearts where the fighter was not present were just as successful as those where we used the fighter. If you want to use the Crusader, it is a capable vessel, provided you are comfortable with its shortcomings. But if you were to ask me seriously which alliance ship to buy, this would not be on that list.